The economy of a country affects everyone one way or the other, and a poor economy may result to immigration problems and also the average population of the country living below poverty line, and people start to leave the country to look for greener pastures and for the betterment of their family. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about economic crisis and how it has led Nigeria as a nation to where we are today. There are so many questions, like I always say, and yet a very few answer or no answers at all. My name is HIPTV, and I welcome you to another very interesting episode of Public Announcements on HIPTV. But for now, we're going to go on a very short break, and when I come back, my guest will be joining me shortly to dissect today's topic. I'll be right back.
Ara, it's Made Kuti, and I just want to inform all of you and to say,
vote, not fight. Election will be war.
Come out and vote. It's your right, it's your responsibility.
Because that's the single most important thing you can do to affect the outcomes.
Don't stay at home. Make sure you come out and make sure you vote.
This time, we need to do it and do it right.
It is your civic responsibility to choose your leaders.
Vote. Vote. Vote.
Not fight.
Because election will be war.
The nation Nigeria is a blessed one, blessed with mineral and human resources. It is no news Nigerians leave the country to the west and excel in whatever field they find themselves. Before crude oil was discovered in Olobiri, in Bayelsa State, the country derived its foreign exchange from cocoa in the west, groundnut in the north, rubber in the south region. While the east has large deposits of coal in states like Enugu and palm oil and palm kernel in other parts of eastern states, the purchasing power was stronger and most Nigerians lived above poverty line. The discovery of oil led to government abandoning other resources for oil, thereby shutting down agricultural, textile industries, unemployment and crime rates spiked. Corruption, weak economic policies and the government reckless borrowing from the CBN, which stands at about 21 trillion naira, this is about 50% of federal government's total debt of 41 trillion naira, is worrisome. This fuels inflation because it does not in any way create money. It's mainly to finance consumption. One question from this is, how do we come out of this?
Welcome back to Public Announcements. My name is HIPTV. For those of you who just joined in, you are welcome. And today on the show, we're going to be discussing economic crisis in Nigeria. And I have my guest already seated with me in the studio. And he's someone who is beloved by a lot of Nigerians because he knows how to put smiles on the faces of so many Nigerians, especially the worried ones. His name is Warri Boy, and he's a comedian, actor, entrepreneur, and so many other things that anyone knows him to do. How are you doing today?
Very fine, thank you.
I can see that.
When you are introducing people now, just add, and he's a Nigerian. That's a job on his own. So.
Okay, listen, I don't even know if it's okay for me to ask you this question, because this question I always ask all my guests before we go into the topic of today. How they are faring in this current situation of the country.
How am I faring?
Yes.
Well, I've lived in Nigeria for about 40 years now, so
wow.
I'm used to the situation. There's nothing new that's happening.
Why are we always getting used to this situation?
Because we're in it. What else can we do?
What happened to, trying to fight so we don't just adapt to, because, growing up, they'll say one day it go better, right? It will get better. But it's almost like it doesn't get better, or it's not getting better, and things are getting worse. And Nigerians keep adapting. Why have we built so much thick skin to adapt to what is happening in the country?
Now there's hope, and then there's reality.
There's reality.
Okay. When you have stayed in your reality for so long, it becomes a norm. As much as you are fighting to get out of that situation, you have to try as much as you can to live in it. There's nothing you can do about it. So we're here. We're not.
Talking about being here, how did we get here?
Warri, well, how did we get here?
I mean, there were other people that preceded him, right?
Yeah.
And before he came into government.
Yeah.
It was one problem from the previous person to the next person to him, and now we're still here. And some people still want to come after him with, good news, what we want to hear, what they would do. But why is it that the case doesn't get better, instead it gets worse?
Two things: intention and ignorance. Right? It's either your intentions are not good, you don't have plans, you just want to rule so they can call you Mr. President. Or you are actually ignorant, you don't know exactly what to do. You know, there are two things. You can either know what to do and not do it,
Right.
because it probably won't benefit you as much as you want it to. Then there's the part of ignorance. You really don't know what to do. But instead of you to cry out, you just, you know, should shrug it and feel like you let everybody be calling me Mr. President. No, nothing will happen. So, so those are the two major issues in Nigeria, because it's obvious.
All right, so that's a good one. There's something about the present government or Nigeria in general. I mean, we go to other countries and we see how particular these guys are about the image, right? So when you're a foreigner, you're coming into their country, there's a certain way they want you to see the way the country is, right? But in Nigeria, you don't need to come, right? The way our images are being projected to the Western world, to the other places, almost like the government don't really care. So now, what do you think is the cause of this? I mean, in 2018, Nigeria was named the poverty capital of the world. Not even in Africa. Now we've gone to the world. And this is something that should make us sit up like, nah, this should not be in my time. This should not be for my people. When I leave, this should not be what I leave them with. But it's almost like these guys don't care about our image. Why do you think that is?
There's only one word for it, it's just greed.
Greed.
Yes, and like I said earlier, people don't care about legacies and all that stuff. And another thing, you know, we as the populace, we've been put down for so long, right? That we start to imagine that the people who are actually oppressing us are our savior when they present crumbs to us, right? So you forget your rights at this point. Anything you see, you just accept. You know, so these guys, what they do is they make sure that their family is good. Like 90% of the billionaires in Nigeria, their children were not born here.
Of course.
Exactly. So
and some are not even schooling here. They send them abroad.
So now, if ASU is on strike for 9 months, guaranteed their kids are not feeling it. You know, so they don't care, and it's a ripple effect. It goes back to how we now think as citizens. Where somebody is poor and the person is thinking, once I have money, I'm going to buy Benz. And once I buy that Benz, once I'm driving, people will start respecting me. That becomes your future plan, right? Yeah, because that's how the rich has made us feel like it's just, it has to be money. If you don't have
money is
money,
all about oppression now. You want to oppress the next
exactly.
person.
So as long as individually they are good, these countries that are complaining about Nigeria, they've not placed a ban on our president before. They've not placed a ban on any of our legislators, or, you know.
Or even their children.
Exactly. So once they start doing that, these guys will naturally sit up, you know. But of course, whatever you are going to spend in their country is more important to them than whatever, you know.
About the business.
They just, so any name they are calling Nigeria is not even, the leaders, they don't even care. It's us that will go through immigration and, you know, have your whatever you are bringing to the country check. These guys, they fly with diplomatic passports, so they don't face those issues that you're facing. So that's why they really don't care. And when they come back, we worship them.
Right. So I'm going to come to that part where you said we look at our politicians as saviors, rather, or these people are leaders as saviors, rather than those who are supposed to work for us.
Yes, exactly.
Because when you come, it's almost like you're asking for a job. You want to be the president,
Yes.
right? But because we always put our hopes on this, so would you blame Nigerians for doing that? Rather than, you know, treating them like people that were put in an office that is to do the job, we look at them as come and save or save the economy, rather than doing the right thing for you to get the economy right. Would you blame Nigerians for that?
In most cases, no, I can't blame Nigerians. Like, if a hungry man is an angry man, I don't think that's that's not the right word. So if you are hungry, right, and you look to your left and your right, there's no option. And the only thing that is holding that food is the lion. You just try as much as you can to see if you can kill the lion and get that food. You know, and if the lion now says, okay, I don't want to kill you, you two don't kill me, just bow down for me, you will bow down, forgetting the fact that you are a human being. That's exactly the situation that we're facing. Now somebody comes to you and say, I can fix this country from whatever situation it is, you know, in right now. And then you say, okay, take the job and do it. And this person gets into that office and then starts reminding you that the previous government has messed it up. So as you see me that I'm not doing anything now, there's no need to really blame me. You saw the situation before you got into power. Right? Now, when you want to start talking, they have guys who work for them, who they've empowered financially. Those ones now will empower the guys who are next to them. Too. And it's like that, you know. So you respect the person that you are getting money from. And the person is respecting the other person. So before you know, it's just a cycle. So they know exactly what it is, the law of power.
So Nigerians are not angry enough. Is that what you're saying? I mean, in 2020, we raised our voices at the NSAS protest. Gave birth to a lot of things. We started asking for our rights, but it was almost like we're bullied, right? They would call it negotiation. Oh, they called them to some place. They spoke to them. Oh, we would do this, we would do that, and they negotiated with them. But it's almost like they just had to just keep us quiet. Like you are shouting too much. Calm down. Would give you what you want, and they made promises, and yet nothing was done. And now we are all chilling, and things are getting worse.
So this is where the problem really is, right? What happened in 2020 is going to happen again if there are no changes on time, right? But now the situation is, okay, you have not done this particular thing before, and then you attempt it, and it works, and then some people die in the process. Naturally, people will shift back. You have not experienced this thing before. So you didn't know it was going to get to this point.
To that point.
So now, the next time that people are going to come out, we just pray it doesn't get to that level, right? Because when push comes to shove, the next time people are going to come out, they are going to put in at the back of their mind that, okay, what's the worst that can happen, right? So the leadership need to be careful. Whoever is going to rule us for the next, because nobody goes out after 4 years. So the next 8 years, we need to really be careful, because this is a very sensitive time in Nigeria. You know, people are going through the worst times of our life, and if we don't get the right person in power, it's going to get worse.
Okay, wait. Why are we not firing these people that we put in the same seat? So, because without our votes, they can't get to where they are right now, and they can't be in that office. So they begged. We voted with the hopes that when you get there, you would do the job. So we're just like a boss hiring someone to do the job for something. So why is it that we cannot fire them? I mean, last week or sometime this week or earlier this week, there was a suit that was sent to the Supreme Court for Warri to be fired. And they pushed it aside. Like they had to just wave it aside, like this cannot happen. We cannot fire the president. Why is that happening? Why can't they listen to us? We put you there. The economy is not favoring us. Now we want you to step down so that someone else can become president. But it's like the court or the law doesn't even favor the people no more. It now favors the government. Why is that the case?
And because the government has the supreme power. Me and you did this country when the president removed the chief judge, sitting chief judge. Meanwhile, the judicial arm of government is supposed to be an independent.
Yes.
You know, but it doesn't work that way in Nigeria. Nigeria is a very peculiar country.
Very peculiar.
Like, you must understand that every other thing that is a norm in other countries is just different here, right? You don't want to be on the president's bad side. You don't want to even try it, you know. I mean, so if they actually wanted to impeach whoever it is, right, they would have done it a long time ago if the system was right. But in this case, we all know that except if the president wants you to go out, that's when you go out. You can't remove the president of that. It's not possible. It's not. You don't have that power. The chief judge will leave that seat in the next 48 hours if he tries it. So, well, I mean, me and you are in this country now. We know
it's just really sad. I mean, our voice is supposed to be heard. We're in this problem together. They're seeing these things, and it's almost like they just really do not care, even though they claim to be doing something about it.
See, the thing is, power is not given. Right, power is taken, right? And we have said this thing over time that people need to be, the youth need to be more involved. Shout out to Banky W and every other person that is involved in the process right now. I just hope that, you know, they are doing it for the right reasons.
So at this point, I'm going to ask you, right? The current economic crisis that we're facing right now, do you think the populace have a role to play in this?
Which of them?
All of us, you, me.
No, which of the crises? There are so many now. You can't.
Of all the crises that we're dealing with, electricity, we have the inflation, we have so many feeding problems.
The new Naira notes.
The new Naira notes, fuel, and all of these things. Do you think we as a populace have a role to play?
Of course we do. So I'm going to start with the new Naira notes because that one affected me directly, right? I'm not big on spending cash. I like to do transfers, and all that stuff. So my bank placed restriction on my account, because the app wasn't working. So I was trying to use was it USSD code, and I was trying to buy data. So I did the same amount 3 times, and they felt it was that somebody stole my phone. So they restricted my account. So I now went to the bank, sorted it. Then they said there was no cash. They wanted to actually give me 20 naira. I said no, I don't want. So I saw one POS guy, because POS was scarce. I saw one POS guy and I said, "Guy, how far? You get money?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, give me 20K. And the next thing the guy said was, "Now 4,000 be your charge."
For 20K?
Yes, so I didn't know he was talking to me. Yeah, I looked behind me like, is there somebody that want to buy dollar that is talking to me? I'm not sure it's me. So I now said, "Are you talking to me?" He said, "Yes." Now, so you say you want 20K. I said, "Wait, I don't understand." So if I give you 20K now 16K you will give me back.
Collect.
He said, "Yeah." I said, "What's going to happen to the 4K?" He said, "Now the charges." I said, "Who charge them?" I mean, first of all, where did you even get this money from? Because it's scarce. So that tells you that even some bankers are doing business with this situation. So Nigerians are even worse than the government, trust me.
So we are even doing ourselves.
For every situation we find ourselves, somebody's trying to milk that situation at the expense of every other person. We have been trained by our government that once you are in a position of power, even estate securities, they are guilty too. Once they wear that uniform, they think they are police officers. They harass people, so it's in our DNA now to just, once we grab any little office like this, we're oppressing the next man. So those are the little things that we must change. We have to.
So how can we go about that change? Now, how can we help the declination of this country? Because things are, the economy is declining by the day.
It starts with the government, right? It starts with the government. For instance, the police has to be trained to know that if a young man is wearing earrings, that doesn't make him a criminal, right? If a young man has dreadlocks, that doesn't make him a criminal.
Or with a tattoo.
The police need to be trained. So once the police stop worshiping rich people, then people will not be desperate to make money. Because that's the only thing that's causing this problem, desperation. Every opportunity that we get, we want to make this money fast so that we can be respected. That's all.
Right.
So you find out that somebody does not have investment. His first major buy is maybe a Cadillac truck, just so he can be driving through the hood and people will say, "Don't arrive." So it's that mentality of let's get it now, so that we can leave this condition that we are in and make people respect. That's just all.
So what are the effects of this crisis? We have fuel, new naira notes, different queues every day, people waking up one morning and even leaving the country. All of these things are taking tolls on the economy generally. Now, investors are leaving the country. Tourists no longer want to come because tourism is also a part that brings money into the country. Now, tourists no longer want to come into this country. Now, what are the ways that all of these things are affecting the nation, Nigeria itself, and we the people?
The nation is the people, basically, right? So it's definitely, there's a decline in everything. Like now, if you are sending your child to a public school in Nigeria, it's because you don't have any option. Because if you have the option, you want to send them to private schools.
Private school.
But private school is supposed to be like the second option.
Yes. With the way
when we were growing up, we attended government schools and it was
beautiful.
Top class. So now they've killed that idea of attending, even our higher institutions. They are going to teach you well, no doubt, but how long are you going to stay in school? So all these things will definitely affect. And that's where you find out that somebody that has been working for 20 years is still struggling to leave the country to seek for greener pasture. If you have worked for 20 years, you should be okay. In a sane country, in a sane society, you work for 20 years, you should be good.
Very fine.
You should be able to get mortgage for your house, for a house that you are buying. You should be able to, you shouldn't even be, first of all, school is supposed to be free in this country. And that's why they will easily name us as the poverty capital of the world, because they know that we have the resources, right? So when people say somebody like the footballer Sadio Mane is building something in his village and why is Okocha not doing? There's money here. Sadio Mane's village may not have that money, right? But in Nigeria, there is money. As a matter of fact, we actually borrow money and then the money disappears. So, so in that kind of situation, will you go and pull out your money? The thing that the only good that you can do in this country is just to change somebody's life. That's all. You can't even. If you are going to build road, I mean, this guy reported that issue on TikTok. Peter of P Square.
Okay.
He said there was a particular road in his neighborhood, and him and his brother was trying to fix the road, and the local government chairman called them that they should leave that.
I mean, we hear this all the time.
Exactly.
But where private bodies come together and they be like, this road is what leads to our company, we need to fix it, and they don't.
You understand?
Yeah,
now, what will Peter do? Peter will go and buy a Jeep. So at this point, he's no longer feeling the effect.
The effect of the bad
You understand? So at the end of the day, it goes back to our government. They've trained us not to really care for each other. They've put us in survival mode.
Everybody just wants
That's
to survive.
the word. So people are no longer traveling out. People are escaping. Yes, that's the thing.
Jackpot.
Yeah,
Never
people are
Jackpot,
escaping.
like run.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So do you think these things are political moves, or is it that, you know, the inadequate notes or money in circulations? Because when they wanted to collect our money, when they said there was enough time for us to send money to the banks, and now it's time for the money to come back into the system, there's problem. So do you think these things, and now no fuel and all of these things that are happening, no electricity, transfers are terrible, everybody's complaining and all of those things. Do you think all these things that are affecting us in the economy are political moves, or they really do not have a control over it as the government?
The money not being in circulation in the banks, right? I don't think it's entirely the problem of CBN. Rather, we have seen videos of people spraying this same money that is not in the bank at parties, right? Okay. How did that money get there? It's not CBN that they collected it from. So CBN definitely distributed this money to the banks. And CBN gave another that you must not give people more than 20K, blah, blah, you know, cash. But people are having 100K cash.
1 million, because those things are bundles
exactly.
of 200K,
No, I didn't want to
500.
exaggerate. You know, at this point, it's no longer CBN that is the major issue now.
So what about the fuel scarcity?
The same thing.
It's been over 2 months now and we're still here.
Then for the Naira note, there's one bird was flying like 2 days ago, and the bird told me that it's for a good reason, that they are trying to hoard money so that politicians will not have the money to bribe people.
Can they give us first?
No, but see, the truth is, in a place where there is going to be genuine change, people are definitely going to feel the
hardship, right?
You can't even escape that. You can't take that away. But my only issue is, let there be alternatives. Okay,
so you started one solution. If people are found, you know, guilty of doing something that should not be done, if you hold one person, at least they will call names.
Yeah, right? When the holding is genuine.
It's genuine.
Yes, right. Because the reason why people misbehave in Nigeria is because there are no penalties for crime. There are no real penalties for crime.
But they don't carry out. There are
glorified ones. Yeah,
penalties.
There are glorified ones where we see them, they put them on social media. Oh, he has committed a crime. Then no follow-ups. We don't know what happened.
So there's this last question I always ask everybody, which is, what would you like to see Nigeria become? What kind of country do you want Nigeria to be?
Now, it's easy for me to just sit here and wish, right? The first thing that needs to happen is whoever is lucky to enter that position, right? That person should not just come and complain to us.
Don't complain, because you're seeing the problem and you're coming to campaign that you want to change.
You already know the situation of things now. Okay. And as much as you can, try to be transparent. We know there are problems. We know, if we are going to be truthful to ourselves, we know that 8 years is not enough to solve Nigeria's problem.
Of course.
But 8 years is enough time to put us on the right path.
At least when you start doing something.
You understand? Like Fort Milan Bridge, nice one. But let us eat first. Solve immediate problems.
Okay.
There are issues of insecurity. People can't go to their farms anymore. Those issues, and you don't even need me. I can solve that problem. Of insecurity. I can solve it now. It's not a problem now.
How?
So the first thing you do is get what they call state policing.
Okay.
Now you get people from that community and put them in charge of the security. Give them proper arms. They know the nooks and crannies of those places.
Of course.
Some of them actually know the people that are committing. Like when I was growing up in Benin, there was this particular guy that was a terror. I knew him. Do you understand? But you can't say anything because, of course. If they go tell and say that you talk,
He will come for you.
you understand. So it's even, and this is a city, so this is even different. But we're talking about rural areas. There's no way you will not know somebody that gave birth to that guy. Do you understand? So state policing first. That's the first thing you will do. Recruit more people into the police, increase their salaries, pump money, get ammunitions for these guys. Recruit people from the community that are willing. Some of those farmers are willing to go and fight.
Yes.
Do you understand? Aid them with the right soldiers. I mean, this thing is not wrong. How can I sit here and be finding solution when the government? You are telling me that the government doesn't know what they know. Now, Warri is the ex-military officer now.
Yes.
Exactly. So they know exactly what to do. There's just corruption flying in between, in the middle of that situation. That's why it's not.
Right. All right. There's always one step in the right direction if you know what is right, actually. I mean, you said everything. I'm sure our viewers at home have learned one or two things, and they've also learned at this point that we also have our roles to play in all of these problems that are happening. Let us not be the problem of ourselves. Let's not be our own problems. Because it doesn't make sense that we're trying to fight a particular space, like the government, and we're still fighting ourselves. All of these things do not make sense. So thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate that. I love your contribution today on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So at this point, guys, you've heard, go out there and get your PVCs and vote. If you've gotten your PVC, do not keep it to yourself like another identity card. No, take it out there and vote for the right leader. If not, it will be in fact, the right to complain and to even mention or want to ask for anything will be taken away from me. And I'm sure you do not want that, especially I do not want any of that to happen. So at this point, we get to wrap it up on public announcements. On today's episode, till I come your way next time, my name remains Gift David. Have a beautiful day.
Ara, it's Made Kuti, and I just want to inform all of you and to say,
Vote, not fight. Election no be war.
Come out and vote. It's your right, it's your responsibility.
Because that's the single most important thing you can do to affect the outcomes.
Don't stay at home. Make sure you come out and make sure you vote.
This time, we need to do it and do it right.
It is your civic responsibility to choose your leaders.
Vote.
Vote, vote, not fight.
Because election will be war.
Scatter ground for gear. Vote not fight. That's what we want.